Mika Zibanejad is on fire to start the season, and he is the reason why the Rangers won this game.
You're Locked on the New York Rangers, your daily podcast on the New York Rangers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, Blue Shirts fans, to episode number 1400 of the Locked On New York Rangers podcast. I'm your host, John Chick. Just want to thank you guys, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. And today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. And we are, of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So that felt pretty good, did it not? I think this is a little bit of a step up from opening night, the last time that the Rangers and the Penguins obviously played each other. And what I thought was kind of poetic about this game is that, you know, on opening night, the Penguins took it to the Rangers, and they had Ranger fans booing their own team by the third period of that game. Well, the Rangers returned the favor here, beat the Penguins even more decisively, obviously by a bigger margin. And by the end of this game, you had Penguin fans booing the Penguins. So that was awesome to see. The Rangers did a complete 180, basically flipped the script. And the player most responsible for that was none other than Mika Zibanejad. Other than Igor Shesterkin, and it's very early here, I understand that, but other than Igor Shesterkin, through the team's first three games this season, you name me a Ranger, you tell me a Ranger that you believe is currently playing at a higher level than Mika Zibanejad. I'm not so sure that player exists. He's playing with a lot of jump, a lot more intensity, some energy. He's obviously contributing offensively as well. And it's just in stark contrast to what we typically see from Mika Zibanejad at the start of NHL seasons. Even in some of his best seasons ever, Mika typically is a little bit of a slow starter. Like if you take a look at Mika's career, or at least his career with the Rangers, we're not going to worry about the Senator years, but if you look at every season he's had with the Rangers, and you take every season and you say you like break it into quarters, right? I am willing to bet that he has played his weakest hockey in the first quarter of those seasons. He tends to get better and better as the season continues. That was especially true last year as well. You know, obviously he got off to a miserable start with the Rangers last season, as did a lot of players on this team. But in the second half, it was easy to miss this because, you know, things fell apart and obviously nothing was good with this team last year. But after the JT Miller trade, he picked it up, just playing a better brand of hockey and obviously scoring a lot more often and contributing offensively as well. So that was great to see from Mika last year. And he's carried it into this year, and against all odds, off to a great start. I don't think too many people would have seen this coming, would have believed that Mika Zibanejad, even if it's only 3 games into the season, was going to be the second best Ranger at this point. But that's where we are. It's an unexpected development, but it's certainly a very welcome development, because if the Rangers are going to get back to prominence, into being contenders or whatever you want to set the bar at, then Mika Zibanejad has to be one of the guys leading that charge. And it was great to see. It started early in this game. In the first period, Mika basically made what, in my very humble opinion, was the play of the night, because he scored a shorthanded goal that basically flipped this game upside down. It was a complete 180 at this point. The Rangers at the start of this game were not playing well. The Penguins basically had the puck the entire time for the first 7, 8, or 9 minutes, whatever it was, and they were creating all kinds of scoring opportunities. Igor Shesterkin was sharp at the start of this game, and then the Rangers took a penalty, and you're thinking, oh man, now things are going to get even worse. Apparently the Rangers just needed to take a penalty to find their game in this one, though, because what happened after that, turnover by Sidney Crosby, his pass is intercepted by Adam Fox. Fox leads Sam Carrick out of the defensive zone into the neutral zone. Carrick goes up the left side, and a brilliant pass by Carrick across the ice to his right to Mika Zibanejad, and Mika buries it, a shorthanded goal. The Rangers have been so good at that over the years, Mika Zibanejad specifically. They're typically a good penalty-killing team. Everything fell apart in the PK last season, toward the end of last season. But for the most part, this has been a strength of this era of Ranger hockey, the PK. I believe they're still perfect on the year. And they also tend to be able to create offense while they are shorthanded. So that's great to see as well. But what I loved even more than the goal that Mika Zibanejad scored here was his reaction to it. Because once this goal was in the net, Mika sees it go in. He's fired up. He's pumped up. He's pointing at Sam Carrick. He's yelling. He's screaming. He brings Carrick over to him and obviously hugs him and everything like that. Mika did not show this much fire. He did not show this much intensity. He did not show this much passion for the game of hockey for, in my very humble estimation, the entire 82 games last season. So this is a very welcome development just to see that fire, that passion that it takes to succeed at this level. I mean, if you are playing in the NHL and you're not feeling it and you're just kind of there and just kind of going through the motions, it's not going to work out very well for you. So to see this from Mika Zibanejad, who again gave us basically nothing of this last season, that fire, that passion, that intensity, whatever you want to call it, that was a very welcome development as well. And that was just the start of a really strong night for Mika. That was his only point, but there were a lot of little things in this game that I really liked from Mika. Play in the second period. So at this point, the Rangers are up 3-1. And you've got a situation where the puck has been sent into the Penguins zone. It's still loose. The goalie comes way out of his crease to play it, but you've got Mika Zibanejad bearing down on the goalie. He's flying into the offensive zone here. He's thinking, I'm going to steal this puck and maybe bury it. Now, he wasn't able to do that, but I do think that Mika here, by hustling, by applying some pressure to the Penguins in their zone, I think it might have led somewhat directly to a Penguins miscue, because literally a second or two after this, they were called for too many men on the ice. I feel like at this point, the Penguins were kind of scrambling, and it was Mika who caused that. And not only that, but it only took another 5 seconds after this happened for the Rangers to score a goal that made the score 4-1, and they were well on their way to a win at that point. You had an offensive zone face-off. Fox took a shot from the point and made it 4-1 late in the second period, and JT Miller was providing the screen on that. But this power play, in my estimation, was due at least in part to Mika Zibanejad, again, flying into the offensive zone, creating some pressure, and causing a little bit of confusion, maybe even a little bit of panic on the part of the Penguins. Something else that I like, too, in the third period, again, this is not going to show up in the box score or anything like that, but this is the best way for Mika to win Ranger fans back to his side. Just little things like this. It's midway through the third period. The Rangers are in control. I believe it was 5-1 at this point. Penguins have a power play, and you've got a situation where Gavrikov is down on the ice, face down. The puck ends up underneath him. The whistle blows. You've got Brian Rust there basically whacking away at Gavrikov, trying to get the puck loose. And the whistle had blown. And who's the first Ranger to step in there? Dave Maloney pointed this out as well. It was none other than Mika Zibanejad. Now, he didn't go in there like a complete maniac, like his head was on fire or anything like that, or like he's ready to fight the entire Penguins team. But he went in there and gave a pretty aggressive shove to the back of Brian Rust. We're not going to tolerate that kind of BS. And again, when did you see that from Mika Zibanejad this past season? So maybe the fire is back. Maybe the passion is back. Maybe the just the love for the game is back. I don't know what was going on with him at the start of this past season. We tried for months to figure it out, could never really quite put our finger on it. I mean, obviously this team was upset about, losing guys like Goodrow and Trua, but if nothing else, it looks like that's finally in the past. And again, I realize it's only 3 games. It's a small sample size. For a lot of you, I'm sure Mika Zibanejad is probably going to have to do more than what he's done so far to really convince you that he's back and that he's back to being a winning player and that he's back to being an elite or a borderline NHL forward. But there are a lot of positive small signs when it comes to Mika Zibanejad's game early in this season. And on top of everything I just said, keep in mind, the Rangers just lost Vincent Trocheck, right? And that's obviously unfortunate. And we'll discuss that more at a certain point, the loss of Trocheck and how the Rangers should approach it. We discussed that actually in the most recent episode as well. But that does cause a ripple effect in the Rangers lineup. And basically, Mika Zibanejad, not even basically, this is literally what happened. He had to move from the JT Miller line, and he's got 2 new line mates for this game. He's centering Artemi Panarin and Alexis Lafreniere, and that didn't slow him down at all. He still had a very effective night. He was all over the ice, making little things happen, playing with more fire than we've seen him play recently. And I think the fact that he moved away from the JT Miller line, went into this game with 2 new line mates, 2 guys that he doesn't really play with all that often. Him and Panarin are always together on the power play, but over the years, we haven't seen really a lot of Panarin and Mika at 5v5. Once in a while, sure, but it's certainly not a common occurrence. And Mika and Lafreniere, I've always said I think they have sneaky good chemistry, but we haven't really gotten to see the 2 of them play together either. But either way, Mika Zibanejad with 2 new line mates tonight, and that doesn't slow him down the slightest, and he played a heck of a game for the Rangers. As far as what's causing this, why is Mika finally off to, a good start, 3 games into the season here? Is it better offseason conditioning? Did he change up his routine in one way or another? Is he just doing more of it? Is he motivated by what happened last season? Maybe he sees and hears more than we realize. Maybe Mika Zibanejad sees some of the things that we're saying, hears some of the things that we're saying. I mean, he's got to be self-aware enough to know that Ranger fans were not happy with him or the team this past season, right? So with all that in mind, maybe that was a motivating factor for Mika Zibanejad. It could be the JT Miller effect. JT's not even at 100% yet. We have not seen the best version of JT Miller so far this season. But the phrase that we heard a couple of times during training camp when JT was being named the captain is that this is the guy that drags you into the fight with him. Maybe we're seeing that. Maybe Mika, even though he wasn't on the same line as JT in this game tonight, maybe he feels like he's been dragged into the fight with JT Miller. But could be all the above, could be any combination, could be this percent, this thing, that percent, that thing. Whatever it is, though, more of this from Mika Zibanejad, please and thank you. And in just a second, going to keep everything rolling here. Going to shift our attention to Matt Rempe and the fourth line. This is a very, very, very tough night for the Rempe Can't Play Hockey crew. I thought he did a heck of a job, and we're going to discuss his night as well as the night of the entire fourth line for the Rangers, which really is a fun group and has a chance to be, a strength of this team. So we'll discuss all those guys in just a second. All right, we just want to take a minute to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people cannot name all their financial accounts or even what they are worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off of your first year. That's 50% off of your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. All right, going to go ahead and keep everything rolling here on Locked On New York Rangers. Big shout out to the everydayers as always. Thank you guys so much for supporting this podcast. 1,400 episodes. Man, you guys have kept me going through a lot of ups and downs with Ranger hockey. It's been a blast doing this show and getting to meet some of you and getting to know some of you on a personal level as well. It's just been awesome. Thank you guys so much for obviously being a part of this. And if it's your first time here, feel free to stick around. We're not slowing down anytime soon. Obviously, the season is in high gear, and Rangers are 2-1. It's not they haven't beaten world beaters early in the season here, but if nothing else, they have been able to get points against teams that you are supposed to be. I know it didn't really go so well for them on opening night, but the bottom line, my very humble estimation, the Rangers had to get at least 2 of these 3 first games here. They've done that, and now the schedule gets considerably harder, beginning with a matchup against the Capitals tomorrow on Sunday night. And whatever happens in that game, that'll be the focus of our next episode. But for right now, let's continue enjoying this win. We've got fourth line dominance, including and especially, I would say, Matt Rempe. But in general, Matt Rempe, Sam Carrick, Adam Edstrom, this is a really fun line. As I mentioned just a second ago, I think it has a chance to be kind of a sneaky strength of this team. You've got size, you've got toughness, you've got speed, at least for Edstrom and Rempe. And people say about them, like, oh, they're big, they're fast for big guys, right? They're just fast, period. Like they have really good speed out there. So that's obviously nice to see. But there's a lot of sandpaper from this line. Carrick can go out there and kill you some penalties as well. Maybe even a little bit more offense than some would expect. And that was certainly on display tonight. We'll see if they can continue to contribute in that area moving forward. But what a night for Matt Rempe. I want to start with Rempe in general to begin this whole segment here. And obviously we'll talk about the fourth line in greater detail shortly. But he was fantastic. As I mentioned a second ago, a tough night for the Rempe Cannot Play Hockey crew. Rempe had a hand in several goals in this game, not the least of which was the one that he scored. But he had a big hand on the goal that made it 2-1 in favor of the Rangers and actually held up as the game-winning goal. So he was all over the ice on this shift. you've got Rempe working the puck out of the Rangers zone. He forces a turnover in the neutral zone. The Penguins got it back very briefly, but Rempe closed, and the next thing you know, the Rangers had the puck back. Rempe then drives all the way to the net. He basically beelines straight up the ice. We talked about how this team needs to and wants to and hopes to play more North and South hockey, and Rempe, a great example of that here. You've got Edstrom carrying the puck up the left side, and he centers it to Rempe. Rempe's right in front of the net. He's not able to finish, but he's in the crease fighting for position, and the Rangers get the puck back. Specifically, Adam Edstrom gets the puck back, and he passes out of the corner to the other side of the rink to Adam Fox. Fox rips a shot from the top of the left faceoff circle, and he scores, and obviously gives the Rangers a 2-1 lead, and they were on top for good on that play. But great stuff by Matt Rempe, making a play in his own zone, making a play in the neutral zone, making a play in the offensive zone. Yeah, Matt Rempe can't play hockey. He's just completely clueless out there, right? There will be people that will tell you that. Don't listen to them. Because anybody that's watched this Ranger team over the last couple of seasons here, look, I'm not saying Matt Rempe is a superstar or a Hall of Famer or anything like that, but he has noticeably improved. And if you haven't seen that, I don't really know what to tell you. Now, again, when he was first called up, very green, very raw in some ways for a lot of different aspects of his game. There was nowhere to go but up. But this is clearly somebody that's worked very hard. He plays his tail off every single night. And here, on the same shift, all in the same shift, making a play in all three zones, and it leads to the game-winning goal by Adam Fox. And a heck of a job by Edstrom, too. I think maybe even the Penguins were a little bit surprised by his speed that he showed when he went up the left side there. But just a great goal. Good stuff all around. Then, a little bit later in the game, you've got the Rangers on the power play. And Mike Sullivan continues to put Matt Rempe on the second power play unit, and I love it. This is something that I threw out as an idea in the offseason. We're figuring out special teams units and whatnot. I like the idea of Matt Rempe on the second power play unit, basically just standing in the crease, taking up space, and screening the goalie, and potentially even scoring a couple goals in that situation as well. Whether it's a deflection, whether he's cleaning up loose change in the crease, I do like that alignment. And now that Trocheck is out, that causes a ripple effect, not just at 5v5, but also on the power play. So now you've got Lafreniere playing up a top power play unit. But I think the fact that the Rangers are down a man when it comes to both power play units, that being Trocheck, it just makes it that much more likely that Rempe will stick on that second power play. And why not? Because overall, again, he played a great game here. You've got, on this power play goal, the one that makes it 3-1 in favor of the Rangers, you got Sheary gaining the zone up the right side. He leaves the puck for Rempe. Now, Rempe is against the boards, and he's close to the blue line. He's got very little time and space to operate, but he just makes a very simple play. He shields the puck, and then he makes a backhand pass to Noah Laba, who played a heck of a game in this one as well. But Laba passes in the corner to Sheary. Sheary starts to move toward the net, and then he fires a pass to the opposite side, and Will Cooley deflects it home to make it 3-1. But, Rempe doesn't get an assist on this one, but he was right in the middle of the play, stayed cool, calm, and collected in kind of a difficult spot there. At the point, not a lot of room to operate. He's got the puck on his backhand, nevertheless puts it right on the tape for Noah Laba, and it led to a goal in a roundabout way. If they gave out 3 assists, he would have gotten one on this one. And then, to bring it full circle here and talk about this entire fourth line together as a whole, you've got all 3 of them contributing to a goal that made it 5-1. You've got Carrick going up the left side. He shields the puck. He gets to the net. He plays it in front. Rempe can't bury it, but Edstrom is there. Edstrom comes up and puts it on net. Initially, you would have thought this was Edstrom's goal, but it must have just glanced off of Rempe on the way into the net, so Rempe gets credited with the goal. That's a heck of a way to score. But hey, he played well. He earned it. When you go out there and you leave it all on the ice and you bust your tail the way that Rempe does on a night in and night out basis, you earn a couple of breaks like that. And he gets a goal, and very cool to see that happen, obviously. That made it 5-1, which is 14 minutes to go. But you look at this fourth line as a whole, they combined for 5 points in this one, a goal for Rempe. As we mentioned, he had a hand in a couple of other goals as well. 2 assists for Carrick. We mentioned that beautiful pass that he made to Mika Zibanejad for the shorthanded goal, put it right between the legs of one of his opponents. And then Edstrom, he was awesome. Edstrom was awesome in this game and had an excellent shift to set up Adam Fox for the game-winning goal, which we already discussed. But obviously a heck of a play there by Edstrom. And it's showing up in the ice time, too. Matt Rempe, there's games where in the past he'll be out there for like 6 minutes or 4 minutes. There was one game, they had him dressed for a playoff game. I think it was against the Panthers. And they had him out there for like 2 minutes. It was like 2 minutes and like 20 seconds or something like that. And if you're going to do that, it's like, why even dress him? But Rempe has not played less. been 9 minutes and 27 seconds for any of the first 3 games. He played in more than 10 minutes of this game here tonight. And then you've got Edstrom, he's out there for 11-18, and Sam Carrick earning himself 15-36. That might have been inflated a little bit due to the fact that the Rangers took some penalties in this game, but nevertheless, this for a fourth line, that's a good amount of ice time when you add it all up and you look at the cumulative total there. So obviously these guys played well, seem to have been earning the trust of Mike Sullivan, and that's obviously very nice to see. Because as we know in the NHL, cliche or not, you got to be able to roll 4 lines. And as we were just talking about, I think this line has a chance to be a lot of fun for this Ranger team. But we'll keep an eye on it going forward. Obviously, a very great night here. So in just a second, going to keep everything rolling. We're going to shift our attention to Adam Fox, who was another player that was, really coming under some fire from Ranger fans last season, and I think at times certainly understandably so. But man, has he answered the bell early this season as well in a similar way that Mika Zibanejad has. So we're going to discuss Fox and his big night in just a second. All right, we just want to take a minute to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right, pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you will unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel is the best because it's got something for everybody, no matter how you like to play. Whether you're into those same-game parlays, or you're a big fan of player props, or you want to bet for or against your favorite team, or maybe there's just some hunch that you've got for this game or that game, or this player or that player around the league, and you just feel like you need to play it, it's got you covered. It's got something for you. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience that much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, I want to go ahead and wrap up today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers by talking a little bit about Adam Fox and the way he's answered the bell to start this season. Starting to look like he's back to his old self. I mean, I know with Fox, there's certainly been some concern over the last season or two with some of these lower body injuries that have piled up. Hasn't always looked as mobile after those injuries have happened, but I do think he's looked pretty mobile this season. He's skating well, and overall just off to a really nice start is Adam Fox. Big 3-point night here, 2 goals and an assist. And I alluded to this just a second ago, but I don't think there were too many players on this New York Ranger team coming into this season that were under the microscope as much as Adam Fox and certainly Mika Zibanejad. I'd probably put Mika at number 1. He came under fire last season from Ranger fans. Again, at times, very clearly, understandably so, and I include myself in that. Certainly, I didn't always have the best things to say about Mika on this show last season. But Adam Fox, too, he's somebody that in some ways, I think last year might have been a victim of his own previous success, because when you're Adam Fox and you step into the league and you basically take the entire NHL by storm and you're a Norris Trophy candidate, top 5 finisher in Norris voting for 4 consecutive seasons, then you are going to be expected to be great night in and night out. And if you slip up just a little bit, we're all going to notice that. And obviously, we did notice that this past season. There were situations last year where he certainly did struggle, but he's off to a solid start. And again, it is a small sample size, but that's what we have to work with right now. We're 3 games into the season, and Fox ends up with 2 goals in this game. We discussed the first goal already. And one thing that I like about this too, this first goal that he scored here, they talked to Fox during the second intermission. They do these player interviews on MSG, and he really put over the fourth line as, really working hard, really having a great night thus far. And he's absolutely right. They were, and they had more to come. They linked up for that goal in the third period after that, and they were fantastic. And Adam Fox saw that too. So that was obviously very cool to see, and very cool for him to go out of his way and, give them their props for doing what they did in this game, and certainly on the goal that he scored here. And then his second goal for Adam Fox, it was a power play goal. This is the one that was set up when Mika pressured the Penguins into a too many men on the ice penalty, or at least that's my interpretation of what happened or what may have happened on that play. But here, you've got a power play goal. The faceoff was won by JT Miller, back to Artemi Panarin. Panarin over to Fox. Fox lets it fly. He scores, and just like that, Adam Fox has 2 goals on this night and 3 goals on this season. There was a crazy stat that was floating around. I thought I wrote it down here somewhere, but now I'm not seeing it. Bottom line, I have to do a little bit of an estimate now, but I believe with about 62 or 63 games played this past season for Adam Fox, he at that time had a grand total of only 5 goals. Now, last season in general, Fox had only 10 goals, and that is down for him. He's usually pretty good for like high teens number of goals. He ended up with 10 last season, but he had to rally. I mean, he scored like 5 goals in the last 13 or 15 games, 17 games, somewhere in there. But yeah, I mean, like 62 games in Adam Fox's season last year, he had 5 goals. Well, we're 3 games into this season, and he's got 3 goals. So clearly, I mean, you do the math here. Adam Fox looking at an 82-goal season, because that's how many games that they play. He's not going to get there, but it is nice to see him shooting the puck. It's not like he's got a blistering shot, but the idea that this guy who sees the game so well, understands the game so well, knows when to pass, knows when to shoot, logs all kinds of power play time on a unit that's typically very lethal, this Ranger power play. Last year it wasn't. But the fact that he could go that many games and only have 5 goals, it was mind-blowing. But it's nice to see him lighting the lamp a couple of times early this season. But, I mean, he did a lot more than that. There was a situation where this game was still scoreless. And this is the point in the game, really the only point in the game, where the Penguins were outplaying the Rangers. And like I said, that was the first 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, give or take, in that ballpark there. But the Penguins ended up, they broke out of their own zone. They have a 3-on-1, and Adam Fox is the lone guy back. And the everydayers, you probably know where I'm going with this. I've really put over Adam Fox over the years for his ability to defend the odd man rush. Now, last season, the Rangers, nobody could defend an odd man rush last season. But in general, that's been a strength of his. I can't tell you how many times in the past an opposing team will have a 2-on-1 rush against Adam Fox, and he won't even let them get a shot away. They'll try to make a pass. He'll just steal it and skate away with it. We saw that here. He didn't really, I don't think he got his stick on the puck here, but he held position and was where he needed to be, and the Penguins didn't even really get a good scoring chance out of it. Now, it's 3-on-1 here. The Penguins are buzzing to start the game. If they score here, who knows how this game goes? I mean, there's no way to really know for sure. Now, the Rangers won this game 6-1, so maybe all this means is that they would have won it 6-2. But you just never know how teams are going to react to something like that. Because, again, the Penguins were off to a good start in this game, and Adam Fox made sure on what looked like a golden scoring chance for Pittsburgh that they didn't even get a scoring chance of any kind. So that was big right there as well. And then, there's a situation as well where the Rangers were on the power play. And Fox actually had to make a really good defensive play on the power play of the Rangers. That was one thing, like if I had to nitpick anything about this game for the Rangers, their power play, I mean, they scored at least one power play goal, but there were a couple of different instances where the Rangers had the man advantage in this game, and they were bleeding scoring chances to the Penguins. And that was just bizarre. A couple of situations where they couldn't get the puck out of their own zone. And there was a situation here where right at the start of the third period, Rangers have a 3-goal lead. They've got a power play. You think like, okay, well, they're going to get a goal here, bury this team, and just, cruise to a win, right? But the Penguins got a chance early in the third period while shorthanded, but Fox made a great play here, basically just poked the puck away from his opponent at the last second. So it's great to see this from Adam Fox. It's great to see him step up, and he's got to step up this season in some intangible ways as well. And I'm talking about leadership, because when you look at the Ranger blue line right now, it's obviously there have been a lot of changes. That's the first thing that obviously catches your attention. But beyond that, you had last year, and for several years before that, your captain was a defenseman. It was Jacob Trouba for many, many years. He was, I think for a while at least, the unquestioned leader of this team. Obviously, he's traded early this past season, and he's now with Anaheim. But you look at the lay of the land now, Fox is the only Ranger defenseman who wears a letter. Obviously, JT Miller is the captain, but Fox has fast become one of the longest tenured players on this New York Ranger team. He's an alternate captain. He's got to take the bull by the horns, and he's got to lead the way for this group that, I mean, imagine like a year ago thinking that this was going to be the Rangers group. We're going to have Gavrikov, and we're going to have Will Borgen and some guy named Urho Vakanainen. Matthew Robertson's probably going to end up in the game for the next one because Carson Soucy got hurt. Nobody knew that Carson Soucy was going to be here. The overturn on the blue line is absolutely unbelievable. And the Rangers, they have some defensemen that are maybe a year or two older than Adam Fox, but Fox is the guy who's been here. Fox is the guy that's done that. He's the Norris winner. He's the guy that's got to take the bull by the horns and lead this group. And he's the only Ranger defenseman other than Schneider who's been a part of these recent deep Ranger playoff runs. So again, he knows what it takes. He knows what it's like to play in New York, and he's got to be the guy back there. JT Miller, again, he's the captain, but the Rangers need more leadership. We talked about that last year, and you can lead by example. And we saw that from two guys that were very much maligned last season for what seemed to be a lack of leadership on this Ranger team, that being Mika Zibanejad and Adam Fox. They both played great in this game, and they're both off to really solid starts this season as well. A couple of closing points here, and then maybe we'll stick around, go to a couple of your comments in the live chat there. I wanted to point this out, Noah Laba. We owe Noah Laba some time discussing him, and I think we'll do that after this next episode, or rather this next game in the next episode. But Laba ends up with 2 assists on this night. He also was able to put his guy really hard into the boards. I want to say it was the second period when that happened, but basically, I'm trying to remember who it was. It might have been Lazat, but clean hit, buries this guy into the boards, right near the benches, right in front of the Ranger bench. And after he does this, the entire Penguin team basically wants to fight Laba. So we get a big skirmish, big scrum, big get together. Again, more intensity from the Rangers in this game than the opening night matchup with the Penguins. But, Laba, he stayed cool. He held his ground, and there's nothing wrong with a good clean hit like that. So that was awesome. We mentioned his first assist a little bit earlier in today's episode, but he had one on the final goal of the game as well. You have a situation where the Penguins have the puck in the Rangers zone. Laba is able to steal it and basically just fights his way past everybody, just wills himself past everybody through the neutral zone, goes up the left side, passes to the right side of the net. Taylor Radish is there. He tips it in. And I love this too. Noah Laba, the seasoned veteran, right? He ends up going to get the puck out of the net for Radish, because this is Radish's first goal, and I believe his first point as a member of the New York Rangers. I'm trying to remember if he had an assist in the other game, but either way, it was definitely his first goal, and Laba was able to get that puck for him. So very, very cool moment there. Other than that, a couple other things. Mike Sullivan got a tribute video from Pittsburgh. That was obviously a nice moment. Stick taps from the Rangers as well. And one other thing that I want to address here is I know a lot of people, or at least some people, some Ranger fans, they're going to look at this. They're going to look at the fact that the Rangers, yes, they've won these last 2 games, but they're going to sort of downplay it because, well, you beat the Sabres and you beat the Penguins. And these are 2 teams that are not generally considered among the NHL's elite this year, although the Penguins were 2-0 coming into this one, and obviously they took it to the Rangers on opening night. But you know what I say to that? First of all, the Rangers don't make the schedule. You just play the next team, and you have no say as far as who's next and when you play them and where you play them if you're a player on one of these teams. But I think even more importantly, for everybody that's kind of downplaying these 2 wins, the Rangers beat them by a combined score of 10-1 in these last 2 games. So what more do you want? Yeah, they don't look like they're elite teams that the Rangers are playing, but the Rangers took it to both teams. And with the one exception being, I would say, the first 7 or 8 minutes of this game and most of the second period against Buffalo, the Rangers were in complete control of both of these games. And that was obviously very, very nice to see. So, yeah, you can talk about the lack of quality opponent. And as I mentioned earlier, Rangers had to start this season winning at least 2 of done that, and now it gets tougher in the form of a game against the Capitals tomorrow. Something else that happened in this game, you've got Susie. He ends up with an injury. This is a scary injury, man. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody hit the boards quite like this. So basically, he's going to put a hit on his opponent, and his opponent, cuts up the ice quickly. And so Susie mostly whiffs on the hit and didn't completely whiff because his left leg caught his opponent. So his left leg shoots up into the air, and Susie basically then he's airborne. He's parallel with the ice, and he lawn darts his way right into the boards and hit his head really hard on this. And he went down, and for just a brief second, it looked like he was, maybe even motionless. He was shaken up here, and the trainers got out there, and they did a great job, and they got him off the ice. He skated out under his own power, but he did not come back to this game. He was ruled out with an upper body injury. The Rangers are dealing with just a plethora of injuries. We know that Panarin, JT Miller, they were injured during training camp. I think Miller is still playing through something, and maybe Panarin is as well. I think that's at least possible because he hasn't quite looked like himself so far this season either. So you've got those 2. You've got now the injury to Trocheck. That's going to keep him out for a couple of weeks. And it really, really sucks for Susie that he got hurt here because, as Dave Maloney pointed out in the last game against Buffalo, he opined that that was probably Susie's best game as a member of the Rangers, and I would agree with that. I thought Susie was really good against Buffalo, so you think maybe he's finally finding his footing a little bit, and he has this happen. Now, I'm no doctor. I don't know what the injury is, but that looked pretty scary. If I had to just take a shot in the dark, does Susie play tomorrow? I would say probably not. Haven't seen an official diagnosis or anything like that. But man, I mean, he hit those boards about as hard as you can, and head first. I mean, he couldn't even really get his hands out. Sometimes you'll see guys go into the boards, but they're able to protect themselves a little bit. Stick their hands out. He couldn't even really do that. I mean, he was just flying through the air and just hit at such an awkward, dangerous angle. I'm glad he's okay. I'm glad he was at least able to get up and skate off. But if he doesn't go tomorrow against the Caps, Matthew Robertson show. He's going to finally play in an NHL game that actually matters. Robertson obviously was a second-round pick of this team, I believe in 2019, so 6 years ago. And he finally made his NHL debut last year, but he did so in the two final games of the season when the Rangers were mathematically eliminated from playoff contention. So he'll get to play in a game that matters. If Susie can't go, we'll see how he does. We'll keep an eye on that. And I would also think that we're probably going to get Jonathan Quick in tomorrow's game. It's tempting, as well as Igor is playing right now. And for the record, for anybody keeping track of this, Rangers have played 9 periods. Igor's played in all 9 of them. He's given up 2 goals. 2 goals in 9 periods. Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive start for Igor Shesterkin. But as tempting as it might be to just throw him back out there and ride the hot hand and whatnot, you are looking at a situation here where the Rangers are right in the middle of playing 4 games in 6 days. And that's a pretty heavy lift at any point in the season, especially the very start of the season. So to me, you want to get Quick a game eventually anyway. I don't think there's a better time to do it than tomorrow's game against the Capitals. We'll see what the Rangers look to do, but I think the smart money would probably be on Quick making his season debut. And hopefully the Rangers can keep this going. Big test. Look, I mean, if it is Quick, then you're without your franchise goalie in this game. You're down Trocheck. You could be down Susie. As we just mentioned, Panarin and Miller seem to be playing through some things. So it's gut check time, man. If they can get a win against the Caps and beat a team that had the best record in the Eastern Conference last season, then I think that's when people might start finally taking notice. And okay, maybe this Ranger team, maybe they are going to turn things around this year. Maybe they are going to be better. If they get crushed, it's going to be fuel for people that aren't so sure and people that, again, probably downplay these last 2 wins that the Rangers had. But with all that said, I want to go ahead, go to some of your comments here. We are celebrating 1,400 episodes, so thank you guys for checking out this live show late on Saturday night here as we're 2 minutes away from Sunday morning, but it is still Saturday as of now. Charles DeComo says, go Rangers, indeed. Kvac says, can people stop whining about Mika now? Look, I get it. I get where you're coming from. Kvac might be a big-time Mika Zibanejad fan. I think almost all of the criticism that he got last year was fair, was justified. I don't think any of it was really over the top. The only exception I'll make to that, the cuckoos who go after Mika Zibanejad's family. That's just way over the line and it's absolutely ridiculous, and that's never okay. But Mika last year, he really struggled, and I don't think criticizing his play last year was out of bounds. But by that same token, when he plays well, we will give him props, and he has played well in these first 3 games here. Bob Wags is making 3 points here. He's got number 1, Shesterkin is dialed in. Number 2, Zibanejad is playing bleep to the wall. And number 3, the fourth line is heavy, plays north-south, fun to watch. Yeah, could not agree more with all 3 of those things. I mean, Igor is really, he looks like he means business. And we saw last year, it was his, I was going to say it wasn't his best season. It was his worst season in the NHL. And it wasn't like it was a bad season. It's just that all of us expect more out of Igor Shesterkin. But, he's made some spectacular saves so far this season. This game tonight, I thought, was probably his easiest of the 3 games because, he was under fire constantly on opening night. And then against Buffalo, he had the second period where the floodgates kind of opened and he had to stand on his head. This game really, I think the most stressful part of it for Igor was, again, the first 7, 8, or 9 minutes of this game. And after that, it felt like the Rangers were able to basically shut down the Penguins' attack. The Rangers outshot the Penguins by a ridiculous margin in the last 2 periods. I've got the box score here. Give me 1 second, and we'll find this. But it was by quite a bit. Okay, so the last 2 periods combined, the Rangers outshot the Penguins 26-10. So the Rangers obviously defended better. And in the second period specifically, they outshot them 14-3. That's a pretty easy period for a goalie. That's about as easy as it's gonna get if you're an NHL goalie. Number 2, Zibanejad is playing bleep to the wall. Yeah, he is, man. I mean, we just got done talking about that. Mika's been awesome. Love what I'm seeing from him so far, and hopefully, he finally hits the ground running one of these seasons. Hopefully, it's this year. And as far as the fourth line, playing north and south. Yeah, man. I mean, they're always going north and south, and it's a lot of fun. A lot of speed, a lot of toughness, a lot of physicality as well. I think we're really going to enjoy seeing that Ranger fourth line in action this season. Boxing fan says Mika has been very good. Yes, he has. Let's hope he keeps it up. PSY Guy Bry. That is quite a name. Says time for Quickie. Yeah, I think so. I think you see Jonathan Quick make his season debut tomorrow. I don't know if the Rangers have announced that. We'll check real quick here on social media. My laptop feels like working. Okay, I don't know what's going on. I think I hit a button here. So I've got a new camera, and then that's cool and everything. But right now, I don't have my mouse, so I have to use the keypad on the laptop. We've got the microphone plugged into one USB. We've got the camera plugged into the other USB. I'm gonna have to get a splitter so I can use all three. But right now, yeah, the laptop is being a little wonky when I try to do things here that I can typically otherwise do. But be that as it may, we'll keep everything rolling here. Boxing fan says, I like when you go live after a game. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, there's nights where we're gonna do this a little bit more often this year, I think for sure. Just adds a little bit more life, a little more zest to the show, I think. And when the Rangers get a win, especially, I think it's more fun to just talk about it right away and just kind of dive right into it. There's going to be certain nights, though, where it won't happen, but I do hope to do a few more live shows this year. One thing I can promise you, those West Coast games, and there's actually a West Coast trip coming up pretty soon, not going to be a live show after those. If I can stay up for the first 2 periods, I'll take that as a win and then watch the 3rd period the next day. So, but we will mix in some more live shows. I enjoy doing these. Jimmy says, you think Ovi will score versus the Rangers? Well, he's not a former Ranger, so there's no guarantees. If he was a former Ranger, it would be an absolute lock that he would score. Do I think Ovi will score against the Rangers? I mean, I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to say the Rangers win the game anyway. I think you're looking at maybe like a 4-3 Ranger win tomorrow, because the Rangers, they scored a lot of goals in this game here, and they scored against Buffalo. They got some secondary scoring. That's always nice to see. But the Capitals, they have a pretty high-powered attack too. You've got Quick in instead of Igor. I think Quick will do just enough. It's one of those games where he'll give up 3 goals, which, generally speaking, if a goalie gives up 3 goals in a game, it's kind of like, it wasn't the best game. I think Quick will play a very good game, still give up 3 goals, but the Rangers will score 4, and they'll figure out a way to win this. So, I figure we can call it there. I mean, I really do want to thank you guys for always supporting the show as much as you do, always tuning in, always, talking Ranger hockey with me. It really does mean a lot. 1,400 episodes. I don't even know what happened, man. We blinked, and here we are, 1,400 and in our 7th season of Locked on New York Rangers. But I figure we can call it there. We got one more comment here from Boxing Fan. Yeah, if you got anything to say, anybody listening to this, watching this, definitely leave in the YouTube comment section. I'm only hoping, this is from Boxing Fan, I'm only hoping for the talks between Rempe and the Kings continue to stall, and it seems like it is. Yeah, for all the free agents that have signed thus far this season, I mean, Kaprizov, McDavid, Eichel, I believe that contract was finalized. There's one other big one that I'm forgetting. So chat, if you can help me out on that, definitely do that. I feel like there's one other big name player that recently re-signed. But Rempe is the one. He's somebody that I've always really liked. And I would say right now, if you look at next year's free agent class, he might be the guy that the Rangers would look to make a run for. Now, he could re-sign with the Kings. He could always go somewhere else. We'll see what happens there. But I think of everybody remaining, he would be my top choice. I know Martin Necas is also a free agent. And I think there's like 1 or 2 other pretty big names out there as well. I mean, technically Ovechkin, but he's not coming to the Rangers. So, there's still some guys out there. What could have been a legendary and historic free agent class this upcoming offseason is still going to be a very, very good one, unless everybody re-signs with their current team. And Boxing Fan just let me know that Jason Robertson is the one that recently re-signed with his team. So, or no, Robertson hasn't signed, I don't think. I think he's just letting me know that Robertson is a free agent this upcoming season. Alex Tuck as well. He's another one. Yeah. And then we've got PSY Guy Bry here. That is a tongue twister and a half. He says, a Rempe Kempe line. I mean, they would have to try that at least once, right? How could you not? Is there another Is there another player that would fit the rhyme scheme of that in the NHL right now? Rempe, Kempe, and I can't really think of any. But if there is, I think they would have to make that happen. And yeah, as Boxing Fan just pointed out, Robertson is indeed an RFA. But I don't know. I think Dallas, because we did an episode about this in the offseason, I think Dallas has a little bit of a cap crunch going on. And there's some doubt as to whether they're going to be able to get Robertson under contract. And if they can't, obviously what they would do is they would trade him. So would the Rangers be in on him? I think that's at least possible, but we will see. But yeah, I figure we can call it there. Again, thank you guys, as always, for tuning into this live edition here. And I hope to be doing more of these as the season continues. And thank you guys again. So, yep, if you'd like to get in touch with this podcast, please send an email to lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Once again, that is lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Definitely give us a follow on Twitter as well, @jchick17. Once again, @jchik17. And definitely subscribe to the Locked On New York Rangers YouTube channel. Thanks again, guys. I will see you as always as next time.